Hey scholars, happy Thursday. I hope that you guys are enjoying the books that we've been reading this week. I got to read some of your writing yesterday that you did on Rosa Parks, and I was so impressed with all of the different ways that you were able to describe her as a change maker. Keep up the good work. Today we're going to be starting a new book together. This book is called Let the Children March. Now this is a story that's told by kids, and it's all about children who are going to join a march to fight, to peacefully fight for the civil rights movement. Now, we've talked a lot in the last few days about this civil rights movement. Remember, this is the movement that Martin Luther King Jr. is leading, where they're wanting to create equal rights for Black people and for white people. And we've already read two different examples. We've read about Ruby Bridges and how she fought in that civil rights movement. She peacefully fought for Black students and white students to be able to go to the same school together. And now we've also read about Rosa Parks, who stood up for what she believed in by saying that white people and Black people should be able to ride wherever they want on the bus, that they shouldn't have to be separated by the color of their skin. So in this book, we're going to read more about the civil rights movement, and we're going to read more about this fight against what are called the Jim Crow laws. Now, those are just the laws that separated white and Black people. So the laws that said they had to sit in different spots on the bus, or the laws that said they had to drink out of different drinking fountains, or the laws that said that white people and Black people had to go to different bathrooms. All of those were called the Jim Crow laws. And this civil rights movement that we're reading about, and the story that we're going to be reading about today, is going to be talking about fighting against those Jim Crow laws. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let the Children March. The author of this book is Monica Clark Robinson, and the illustrator is Frank Morrison. Let the Children March. (1963), Birmingham, Alabama. I couldn't play on the same playground as the white kids. I couldn't go to their schools. I couldn't drink from their water fountains. There were so many things I couldn't do. So right there, I'm already seeing 3 different examples of those Jim Crow laws that separated Black children and white children. Couldn't play on the same playground, couldn't go to the same school, couldn't drink from the same water fountain. One warm spring night, my family went to church. We weren't there to have regular services. We were there to hear Dr. King speak. We were there to plan. He wanted to raise an army of peaceful protesters to fight for freedom. His brown eyes flashing fire and love. Dr. King told us the time had come to march. If I march, Mama said, I'll lose my job, sure enough. I can't march, Daddy said. I got a family to feed. The weight of the world rested on our parents' shoulders. But this burden, this time, did not have to be theirs to bear. So I'm already thinking about some of these words that these parents are saying, and it sounds like these parents want this freedom from these Jim Crow laws, and they want the civil rights movement to succeed because they want these equal rights. But it sounds like they're scared that they're going to lose some very important things like their job, and that they won't be able to make money to feed their families. So it sounds like these parents here are in a lot of danger if they decide to protest. Remember, a protest is kind of like a peaceful march. A protest is where you fight and you stand up for something, but you do it peacefully. Sounds like these parents have a lot that they could lose if they decide to make that choice. I don't have a boss to fear, my brother said, or a job to lose. We can march this time. We'll be Dr. King's army, I said. I'll be fine, Daddy, I promised. Don't worry, Mama. So stop and think for just a second. What are these kids saying that they're going to do? What's the decision that they're making right now? Pause the video and think about that for just a second. It sounds to me like these children are saying, we don't have the same things to fear as our parents, like a job or getting in trouble from our boss. And it sounds like they're saying we can be brave and we can march for our parents. We can march to ask and protest for freedom. Dr. King didn't like children being put in harm's way, but he was a daddy too, after all. But he said that though we were young, we were not too young to want our freedom. Let the children march. They will lead the way. On May 2nd, a sunny Thursday, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, we all met at the church, dressed in our best, feet ready. In a silence so loud that all I could hear was my racing heart, we began to walk. In a silence so loud that all I could hear was my racing heart, we began to walk. What do you think the author is trying to say right here? He uses these two words that are opposite. He says that the silence is so loud. Take a second to think about what you think the author might be trying to say here. I'm thinking that the author might be talking more about this racing heart and how nervous the children were, how they didn't know what was going to happen, and even though it was quiet, they could hear their hearts beating, and everything felt loud because of their nerves and because of the excitement of what they were about to do. We began to walk. Hand in hand we marched, so frightened, yet certain of what was right for freedom. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. We see their signs that they're holding as they walk and march down that street. Would I be hurt? Would we be heard? Would it all be worth it in the end? I wanted to run from the angry faces in the crowd, run from danger, run from fear. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, on and on we marched, we marched, we marched. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came. That is a lot of children, 1,000 strong, 1,000 kids in this march. And I want you to take a second to look at some of these signs that they're holding. I see better schools now, because remember, they wanted the right to be able to go to the same schools as white children. This one back here says fair employment now, so that means fair jobs, that their parents would get to have the same jobs that white people had. And I want us to go back to the very top up here. These kids are thinking, would I be hurt? Would I be heard? So not only are these kids having to be very brave because they don't know what's going to happen, but because they could end up being hurt. Remember those people outside of Ruby Bridges school? They were very, very angry. And I'm imagining that some of these people are still very angry. A lot of white people who believe that they should not have the same rights. So these children could be putting themselves in danger, and they could be very scared right now while they're marching. So what I want you to think about today, that's where we're going to stop, and we'll finish the rest of our book tomorrow. But today, you're going to be writing to answer this question. If you were alive during this Freedom March, if you were alive when Martin Luther King was alive and the civil rights movement was happening and they're fighting for these equal rights, would you join this march with the children? That's the question that you're going to be thinking about right now, and that you're going to go ahead and write about as soon as you finish this video. Now, there's a lot to think about there, because I know that these children are scared, and what they're doing is brave, but it's also dangerous. So I want to know, what would you do? Take some time to think about it and then get writing.